3 pages of content. That's your content. If you give me 1.5, then you will lose a lot of points. And what you do, you document your sources. You have to document your sources. Where did you get the information from? You quote it in the text, and then you give me a bibliography. So the instructions are there. You have to have a cover page. As I said, some of you didn't give me no cover page for the midterm. You have to give me a cover page. It is not a page. You don't number your cover page. Do not number the cover page. Right? And then you have 2 to 3 pages of content. And then the bibliography, and that is it. So you could do, you could finish that assignment tonight. 2 to 3 pages, you could write that tonight. If you have not done it so, but it's due on the 17th. And trust me, it has to be there on the 17th, else you will be penalized. Because I gave you this 3 weeks ago. A student asked me for clarification. I'm clarifying it now again. Something has to interest you about an individual, an event, and law. And we study a lot of things. Right? There are several individuals we study. If you want to write about a particular pharaoh, fine. If you want to write about a particular Chinese dynasty, fine. If you want to write about an event, fine. If you want to write about a law that was interesting you, and which part of the law you like most or whatever, you tell me about that. So this is what I want to see. Are we clear? Any further concerns?
I actually have a question about citing. How do you want us to cite again?
Using footnotes. Right? Remember footnotes? What to do footnotes?
Like write a quick paragraph about Raphael, because I don't know who that is. I'm not gonna write on him. And then like show us how to put this like again.
Remember, you go to do footnotes. Where you go? You go to references, and then you go to footnotes. There's the box comes up. Whatever you quote, you put number 1. The line is drawn for you, and you type where you got the source from. This is the footnote. You go to reference, and it brings it a footnote. You put number 1. So the footnotes are consecutive. 1, 2, 3, 4. How many footnotes to use? It will automatically, I'll show you something. It will automatically do it for you. So let's write in Cambridge. I'm writing on the cast. Let's say I'm writing on the Raphael. Right? I'm saying where Raphael was born, who was his parents, and how did he establish to become a sculptor and artist. I'm writing, boom. So I'm going to see where I get that information from. So I'm going to footnotes. This is number 1. And see the line is automatically drawn. You don't have to, if you draw a line, you don't know what you're doing. So that's number 1. Where did I get it from? Let's say I would get it from ancient.eu, ancient.eu/Raphael, whatever comes up, and I put date. The date access is what? When did I access it? The 5th, the 15th, 21. And there might be an author. So you might put author. You see who is the author of that just so. See who is the author of that in let's say it says John Wang. Raphael, famous. He might write an article on Raphael. Raphael, the famous painter. Let's say he's a painter, right? That's the essay. Where did you get it from? www.ancient.eu. That's where you got it from. In parentheses, when did you access it? The 5th, the 15th, 2021. And this is what you're going to put in your bibliography. Remember, in the bibliography, it is done alphabetically. So one will not come before I or A, whatever. So you have to know how to document it properly in the bibliography. So it shows up here. So when I look at here, I'm seeing where you got the source from because I'm seeing your footnote. You have given credit to the author. But if you give me 3 pages and there's no, and then you give me a bibliography, but when I'm reading here, I'm not seeing any footnotes, then that paper is a C paper. Automatically, it's a low C. You'll get 70. Right. That's a low C. So if you want to get good grades, so what I'm looking for, you have to give me a cover page. I showed you it. Go look at the syllabus to see how cover page is done. You don't have to put borders on the cover page. A simple cover page. The cover page is not number. It's not a page, so you don't put number. Page 1. What you're numbering is pages you're numbering is the 2 to 3 pages. If you did 2 pages, it will be page 1 and 2. If you did 3 pages, page 1, 2, and 3. The pages of content are numbered. And then you have your cover page, 2 to 3 pages of content, and your video. Guys, right? And please, some of you don't know the difference. I want it in a Word document. I keep saying that, and people still not paying instructions. So this time, if I'm serious, anyone don't follow my instructions, you will lose points. Yeah. Yes, it has to be random. It has to be there before 11:59. It has to be in a Word document. Anyone send it to me in PDF, you will be penalized. This is, I don't want any Word. I want.
Broke up. For the bibliography, that's the footnotes, or you want like an annotated bibliography?
Miss, in your footnotes, this footnotes here is you put it in your bibliography. You do a bibliography. But you must have footnotes. You must give credit to the author. So when you're looking wherever you cite, make sure there's an author's name. Don't just give me www.jimcrow.com. It must have an author's name. Because when I'll show you something. When you go to ancient.eu, look at it. When we go here, and we type in Medici, let's say we do the Medici family, let's say type in that. All right, look, something comes up here. Ancient art, Borgia and the Medici trees, or whatever it is. Let's say ancient family life in ancient Rome. See who writes it? Donald L. Wasson. So you have to put Donald L. Wasson, comma, ancient Roman family life, and you put it, and this is the website here. Right? This is the website. And you put that, and you put the teeth access. And then in the bibliography, you bring it in the bibliography likewise. So I'm seeing footnotes, and I'm seeing bibliography. Right, so the thing is, make sure and it has to be in at 11:59. You can send it. You don't have to wait until the end of the day to send it. Once it's there, I'll be grading right through. I'll be grading. But if it is there on the 18th, trust me, you'll be losing point. If it comes in on the 18th, I'm grading a B paper. And that B paper could come into a C paper because they lose a grade. So I'm grading from one. If it's 17 on time, well, I'm grading an A paper, and then I'll go through the paper to see what errors you made. But if you send it on Wednesday, sorry, the 18th, I'm grading a B paper. If you send it Thursday, I'm grading a C paper. If you send it later again, that's an F paper, you'll automatically get an F45. And an F is what? 50 points, and I'll add it to your midterm and divide it by 2. And you might have to do that class over again if you want to engage in fun. Because I gave this exam 3 weeks ago. So we are clear. This is your clarification. Right? So do what you have to do. Don't be late. All right. So let's Imani, can you refresh my memory where we left off last day?
We left off on.
Were we talking about the peninsularies in Spanish? We passed this or we did this?
Yes, we did that.
All right. So in the New World, right, we had all these different peoples. It was a mix-up. It was like what we'll call in Trinidad a Calado, what some people call a bully, the French will call a bully base. Different peoples. So in the New World, you had Spanish speaking people, right? Then you had Creoles. They spoke Spanish. They spoke a form of Spanish. Let me put this, a form of Spanish. They didn't speak Spanish, the Spain Spanish. Then you had mestizos. They spoke their native what? Their native language. You had mulattoes. And then you had African people who came from Africa who brought their language. So it was a mix-up in the New World. Let me show you, I'll show you what I mean. Let me show you this book. It is called, and it's a book I'm going to order it probably over the weekend. This book here. It's called all right, see, look at these expand it. All right, you see, all right, look at these women. You see, these are women, they are and men, these women, they have mixed blood. Mulattoes have mixed blood. What do we mean by that? Mixed blood. This woman here, you can see how light skinned she is. So her father could be a white man, her mother is African. So in the New World, in America, you have mixed bloods, people who are mulattoes. So the New World, if we go back to our lesson, in this society here, you had mixed bloods. Because remember the men, these men, some of them did not come with their wives. So they got involved with mestizo women. They got involved with mestizos women are native, they're born in they are the original people. So the children they produce. And then when African people came in the New World, they got involved with mestizo women and they create mulattoes and zambuyos, you see? So there was a mix-up. Spanish African men got involved with Creole Spanish women. So the whole world, there was, in the New World, there was miscegenation. So here we come to North America now. We in North America. North America, this map here, this is the 13 English colonies. From Georgia, go right up to Massachusetts. This is what England owned. France is in Canada. And all here is native people are living here. This is their land. Tuskegee is the name of an Indian name. Notasulga, Indian. Right? Montgomery is an English name. They changed the Indian name to an English name. Tuskegee is the original name of home of the Indians who lived in Tuskegee. Notasulga, another tribe lived across next door. So these are the 13 English colonies. How many of you know the story of Captain Smith and Pocahontas? Anybody know that story? Who was Pocahontas? She was born here. Captain Smith came from England. All right, let me see if I can find the picture. Let me see. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Picture. All right, this picture here is right. This is Pocahontas, and Captain Smith takes her, marries to her. She is John Smith. Right? She is an original woman from here. So he is white, she's Indian. She's Amerindian. Right? Disney made the movie about Pocahontas. That is a cartoon. Right? Pocahontas. But that was not really her real name. But her name was Pocahontas. That is what they gave her. Look at two of them here. This is, right? Notice that she's dressing like an English woman now. Because this is how the English dress. This is Pocahontas, but she is not white. But when their children will adopt British ways, English ways. So in the New World, remember Captain Smith, he came by himself. He probably he had a wife in England. I don't know. We don't know. If you can research that to see if he had a wife. And he fell in love with Pocahontas. So again, in the New World, there is miscegenation. So the 13 colonies, you see, and then later on, they will expand. And in Canada, the French and the Indians will fight a war for 7 years. 7 years, because the French is trying to take their lands, and which they did, right, for 7 years. So when the white man came to the New World, they didn't know anything about the Indians taught them how to hunt and trap, because they were hunting for what? Furs, right? For the winter. So they were hunting their animals for their fur skin. The trappers adopted Native American clothing. Look at this, and married Native women. And what did the Europeans do? They cheated Native Indians out of the land, introduced them to alcoholic drinks, and swindled them in trades. Alcohol. You see what they brought in the New World? They make them drink. So if I give you alcohol to drink, and I will write down in the book that if you owe me $1 and you are drunk, I will write down in the book that you owe me $200. And this is how I will swindle you out of your land and your trades. So they brought alcohol to drunken people. So beware of drinking alcohol. People will give you alcohol and swindle you. All right, so that is now they brought African people into the New World. Because in the New World, we have established plantations of sugar, tobacco, and cotton. And they needed large workers because the Native American population declined. And Africans were brought in, and the Europeans saw us ancestors as inferior. And they brought in 9.5 to 11 million of us into the New World. That's called the Atlantic slave trade or the triangular trade. And this is it here. This is Africa. This is where most of the slaves came from, this region here. Right? So you see how the slave ship landed? Some Africans, look, went to Europe. Some Africans went, right? Some came, right? This is where they brought us. They brought us in the Caribbean area here, Central America, South America. All over the Americas, the slave trade, the slave ships landed. And what were the activities in the Americas? Tobacco, coffee, cotton, sugar, mining, and rice. So 4.5 million people were taken to the West Indies. 2 million in Central America. 5.5 million, right? You see, 5 million, so many million came here. So millions of Africans came out. So between 1650 and 1860, approximately 10 to 15 million enslaved people were transported from Western Africa to the Americas. Most were shipped to the West Indies, Central America, and South America. Why? Because we have more plantations. A lot came here too. Mexico. So if you go to Mexico, you'll see black Mexicans. If you come here, you'll see black Spanish people in all over South America. Black Spanish people. So not all Latinos are fair-skinned people. That's a lie. Because in Latin America, like Argentina, they discriminate against black people there because in fact, they try to get rid of black people in Argentina because they want a white in Argentina. So all over the New World, our ancestors were taken out and brought here. We planted tobacco. We were enslaved on plantations that grew tobacco, coffee, cotton in the south. The whole of Tuskegee was a cotton plantation. The whole of all over the south was cotton. Alabama was a cotton plantation, big cotton plantation. Tuskegee itself was a cotton plantation. Sugar is grown in this region here. Sugar is grown in Louisiana, and sugar is also grown in Florida because of the tropical climate. And then, of course, mining. You had gold and silver here. And then rice. Rice is planted in the Carolinas, low country, the Carolinas and low country, Georgia. You ever heard about the Gullah people? Anybody heard about the Gullah? And the Gishi? They live off the coast of North Carolina. I'm going to show you who are the Gullah people, the ancestors. Their parents came from Africa. And they call them themselves the Gullah. So this is the Gullah. The Gullah people, this is the Gullah people here. They still live in the Carolinas. Gullah Gishi culture. They live, right? These are the Sea Islands. This is where they live. And a lot of the parts of the Carolinas are trying to take their land. And every year there's a big festival, a big Gullah festival, the Gullah Gishi corridor, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina. You see? Low country, Georgia. So this is the corridor where the Gullah Gishi people live in America. Their parents and grandparents came from Africa. And they still retain African culture. See, rice, they have a lot of cuisine because they planted rice. right? So the Gullah people, they know they still have African traditions, right? So this is, if you go to low country in parts of Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Gullah Geechee. So these are, you know where they came from? Most of them, the Gullah Geechee people came from here, Senegal, this region here, the Senegambia. The Gullah Geechee, right? The Gullah Geechee people. So this is where we came from, right? So you see, Senegal. All right. So this is it. This is the trade, the triangular trade. We took slaves out of Africa. We brought them to the New World, and then we take the products from the New World, export them back to Europe, and then we will make this trip over and over until it ended. This went on for nearly 400 years, right? 400 years. So we went to Africa. This is all this region here. We took slaves from here, right? And we brought them to the New World, and then we took products from the New World, brought them here, and slave ships and peoples, slave ships and people. So you see the slave trade, African slavers captured other Africans. Slaves, they exchanged, slaves were exchanged for guns, gold, and other goods. So the slave trade. Again, you see this is Africa, and people come in and go in. Flows, inflows, outflows, flows. So this, the journey from the west coast of Africa to the New World was called the Middle Passage. The Middle Passage, the journey, right? Many Africans were beaten and they were thrown into the sea. Almost 20% of the slaves. So they said that sharks follow the slave ship because what? Every day they were dumping dead bodies into the water. And this is how it was looked. This is how a slave ship was packed, you see? They packed us like sardines in a can below the deck of the ship. And this is how we were captured. When they captured us, they marched us for miles and miles until we get to the coast. When we get to the coast, they put us on the ship. While we were on the ship, you see, they'll bring us up during the day, and then in the night, they'll take us down into the bottom of the ship. And in the bottom of the ship, this is how it looked like. So people died. It was a stink place because people died here shackled to you. People were doing all kinds of things on the ship. It was nasty. It was evil. So 20% of the people died. So this is how it looked like. They captured us. Notice this man with a gun. He's a slave trafficker. He's guarding his slave because his slaves are mad. But they are coming through our territory and it takes them months. So he's making sure that the other people don't steal his slaves. This is on the coast. This is where they are branding them. They're putting a brand on them. Then they'll put them on the slave ship. Then while the ship is on the sea, they'll bring them up to get some fresh air, wash down the hole, and then put them back. And as I said, almost 20% of the slaves died. And when we came to the New World, we created what we call the African diaspora. So slavery was what we call forced migration. And the diaspora refers to what? Culture, food, traditions, and languages. So again, in the New World, we had a mixture of European people and African people and people in the Americas. So in North America, there's an African diaspora. We are part of that. We are in the Caribbean, there's an African diaspora. In Central America, there's an African diaspora. In South America, there is. And all over the world, because of forced migration or voluntary, there's a, for instance, we talk about India, right? We saw the African diaspora in India because some of them when they are slaves. In Persia, some of them when they are slaves. And of course, in the New World, we had a number of epidemics. Smallpox, measles, right? And it wiped out the native population. Between 1500 and 1700, 90% of the people the original people in the Americas died because of European diseases. Today, what is the plague? COVID-19, right? And then slavery ended. Slavery was not abolished even until it became law. And then some free slaves returned to Africa, not all. In Liberia, Africa, free slaves established that case there. Right? In Liberia. If you know Dr. Jimmy, anybody knows Dr. Jimmy? He's from originally he's from Liberia. That is where he's from. So African people who were slaves in Africa, who were free in Africa, ended up slaves in America. They send them to Liberia and they govern that country. And of course, we have modern day slavery, right? We have human trafficking, and we have human trafficking, where women and men and children are trafficked as slaves. People are trafficked for their organs. That's a big business. People are being kidnapped and they are killed and their organs are taken out and they are sold for thousands of dollars. So, and we talk about the Columbian Exchange. The Columbian Exchange, the Columbine Exchange. It was an exchange of plants and technology and diseases were exchanged, right? New foods brought from Americas to Europe, including the tomato, sweet potato, pumpkins. These are New World, these are products in the New World. Cocoa is also in Africa. Corn and potato were the most important. Asian Africa also shared in the Columbian Exchange as new foods were introduced. African people came with and knew how to grow products here too. So the Columbian Exchange, in other words, the Spanish and the Europeans bought their foods and their technology. Then these products were shipped to Europe, and African and other people brought their products. So that's the Columbian Exchange. All right, so from Asia and Africa, the Europeans brought what? The banana, sugar cane, coconut palms, and coffee beans. These came from Asia and Africa. Bananas, sugar cane, coke, right? Europeans brought the horse, cows, pigs, goats, chickens, sheep, and honeybee to the Americas. They also brought citrus. And what were the diseases brought to the Americas? Smallpox, influenza, measles, and malaria. And we had a sexually transmitted disease. America sent syphilis. Europeans came with the syphilis and it went back to Europe. So that's part of the exchange, the Columbine exchange. And this is how it looks in the map here. This is the map. This is the Columbine exchange, right? America, to Europe, Africa, Asia, and back. You see what came here? Look, this is Europe. Europe brought diseases. These are the diseases. Smallpox, influenza, typhus, measles, malaria, diphtheria, whooping cough. You see what they bring in here? They brought this to all here. Then they brought livestock, horse, pig, sheep, cattle. They brought grains, wheat, rice, barley, and oats. But some of these things also were not in, rice was in Africa, rice was in China, right? In the New World, you have what? Onions. And they brought all these things, peaches, right? And they brought these things, and then from here, look, citrus, right? Tobacco, all these things went back this way. So this is the Columbine exchange. Inflows, outflows, inflows, this, and this is still happening today. Right? Imani, your Hermes bag, where is it coming from? France, right? What are we sending back? Africans. In America, we're sending hip hop to Europe. It's still happening. So that's the Columbine exchange. And with that exchange, it created what we call a commercial revolution. And it led to inflation. Spain became very rich, other countries became very rich, but it caused inflation. It caused a sharp rise in prices. Inflation. And whenever there's inflation, goods become scarce and the prices go up. And as a result of that, we created a new economic system called capitalism. We move away from feudalism and now we enter capitalism. Right, capitalism, and then we have a new class of people called entrepreneurs. So capitalists develop new ways to create wealth. So from capitalism, you have capitalists. And the capitalists began to go into business, insurance. They form companies, they form partnerships, they form other ways to invest their money, and they develop what we call, this is the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, putting out system or domestic system. They created a domestic production. This is the beginning stage of the Industrial Revolution. And then we had mercantilism. So this is what we have in the new world. So in a nutshell, this is chapter 16. Right? It is there for you on Blackboard. So again, let me emphasize. So what did we do for the semester? For the semester, we covered Mesopotamia. We covered ancient Mesopotamia, including what? Persia. We covered ancient Egypt, right? Then we covered ancient India. Then we went to ancient China, right? Where we studied what? The Shang and the Shu, the Zhou dynasty, remember that? In ancient Egypt, we studied what? Upper Egypt. And we studied what? Lower Egypt also, right? Mesopotamia, we studied all the people like the Assyrians, Babylonians, etc. In ancient India, we studied what? The Harappan civilization. Then we studied what? The Mauryan dynasty, and we studied the Gupta dynasty. After ancient China, we studied ancient Greece, where we looked at what? Sparta. We looked at what? Athens. And we looked at the what? The Hellenistic world created by Alexander the Great. We looked at that. Then we went to ancient Rome. We studied ancient Rome, right? We studied ancient Rome. After ancient Rome, we went to the Byzantine Empire. Right? Then we studied the Byzantine Empire. Then we studied the Islamic world, the Islamic civilizations. Right? We look at different dynasties there. Then we went to where? We went to Africa. Then we came to what? Mesoamerica. And we studied the civilizations there. Then we went back to what? We went back to Europe after the fall of the Roman Empire. And we studied what? The Reformation, the Middle Ages. We studied the what? We studied the Middle Ages. Then we look at the Renaissance. After the Middle Ages, we look at the Renaissance. And we look at the Reformation. And the last thing we have done, which we ended today, is the age of exploration. So this is what I covered for the semester. I have achieved what I set out to do. I don't know if you achieved from doing your readings. So this is chapter 2 in your book. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, it's 11, 12, 14, 15, 16. Anyhow, all right. So we have studied all these things. And what is your assignment that I put up on Blackboard for the final? There's something in any civilization that attracted your attention, that you had curiosity about? What sparked your interest? So you cannot just tell me what ancient Rome. What about ancient Rome that sparked your interest? What is in that any civilization that sparked your interest? Was it the role of the priest, the role of woman? Was it an individual? Was it literature? Was it what sparked your interest? That is where you'll write me, as I said, what sparked your interest? The scribes in ancient Egypt spark your interest? Then you can write about the scribes and tell me why it sparked your interest. I want to hear why also it sparked your interest. So if you're telling me about the scribes, right? You're writing about the scribes, and then part of it, people, why? Why did they write? Why did they attract your interest? So in 2 to 3 pages, this is what you're going to tell me about the scribes and why. What about the scribes that spark your interest? Somebody want to say anything?
Yes.
Go ahead. Because I'm explaining, I will pay attention because no one is going to email me and tell me they don't understand because I will not respond. I'm taking my time for the next half an hour to explain this thing. So go ahead.
Hi, I would just really like to earn an A on this particular paper.
Yes, Ms. Nelson, I hear your point. You want to earn an A, but you don't just get an A. You have to work and write for your A.
Yes, I understand that. So I was wondering what qualifications do we need?
When I say qualification, what do you mean?
Like what do we need to make an A? That's what I want.
Well, you have to write. Yes, you know what you have to do. You have to write well. You can't write run-on sentences and fragments.
Okay.
That's what I mean, because I grade in papers. And I show you what I'm looking for. I grade content. You cannot give me 1 page and expect to get an A. You cannot write wrong information because I know the history. You cannot write wrong information and expect to get an A. You cannot give me a paper that is not documented without documentation. And if you give me documentation, it must be documented correctly. If it is not documented correctly, you cannot get an A. Because you're indicating to me you don't know how to document sources in the bibliography. So all these things I'm looking for, I'm not just looking at content. 2, 3 pages are yes, they give me content. Let's say give me 2 or 3 pages, right? That is content, right? I'll give you 4 points because they gave me 4 pages of content. But what about your content you're giving me? In your content, you will have what? You might have spelling errors. You might have run-on sentences. In your content, you might have what? Fragments. In your content, you might have awkward phrasing. In your content, you might have no citations. You didn't cite your sources in your content, right? Your bibliography was poorly organized. You had no cover page. You numbered your cover page, and the cover pages should not be numbered. All right? Your pages were not numbered. Your 2 to 3 pages were not numbered. So all these things will detract from your content. So all right, so I'll give you 4 for content. Look at this. So the next thing is what? Proper proper paragraphing. What I'm looking for here, indentation. How do you begin a paragraph? You have to indent. I'm looking for indentation. I'm looking at how you use smooth transition sentences to move from one paragraph to the next, from one idea to the next. If you don't have these things there, this carry 4 points. So out of that, you might get 2. You might get 2 out of 4 if these things are not there. Then I'm looking for what? Historical accuracy. If you tell me that the Epic of Gilgamesh was part of Egyptian literature, that's wrong. That's a no. That's a big point coming out your paper, because that is not true. The Epic of Gilgamesh was not in ancient Egypt, it was in ancient Mesopotamia. So if you give me inaccurate, so I'm looking at content, proper paragraphing, historical accuracy, right? I'm looking at, the next thing I'm looking at is grammar mechanics. Grammar mechanics and sentence construction. And then I'm looking for documentation. What is documentation? Documentation means I am looking for what? Citations in the text, meaning I'm looking for what? Footnotes. And then I'm also looking for your bibliography. Yes, you might give me those things, but how well it is done, that's another story. So this is how your paper will be graded. 4. Right, so this is 4 points. It's 4 points, 4 points. Sorry, 4 points. This is another 4 points. And this is another 4 points. So that's 5 for the total is equal to 20. And whatever you get out of 20, I'm going to multiply by 5 to make 100. So you might get 4 for content, and you might, on your paper when I'm reading and I'm seeing there's no proper paragraphing or indentation, you might get 2 out of 4 or 3 out of 4, as the case may be. Let's say you had accurately, you had these things were accurate what you wrote about. I'll leave it at 4. Then when I look at grammar mechanics and you have spelling errors, you might get 3 out of 4. Right? If I look at your documentation, if it is okay, you'll get 4. So let's add 4 and 3, 7. 7 and 4 is 11. 11 and 2 is 13, and 4 is 17. So you'll get, if you have that kind of score, you'll get 17 out of 20. And that will give you what? That will give you 85. And that's a B. Right? Let's say you had other areas, you get 18 out of, you might get 18 out of 20. That will give you what? 90. And that's an A. That's what A paper looks like. 18, 19, 20 out of 20, this is an A paper. So if you want to get to A, Ms. Nelson, then in these areas, you have to be almost perfect. Give me content, and when you type your paper before you submit it to me, what you do? What is it? What you do? This is it. You edit it, read it aloud. In other words, before you move on to another paragraph, make sure that read the sentence, like for instance, look at the sentence. Describe the book wrote every day. You might write that, but what you want to say. You might think you said the scribe wrote the book every day. The scribe in the book. Look at this. The scribe in the book. Does that sentence make sense? Who wants to correct the sentence? Does this sentence make sense, class? The scribe in the book wrote every day.
No.
No.
How will it read? The scribe what? It should read what? The scribe what? Wrote in the book every day. So you might think you wrote this, but when I'm reading what I'm reading. So this is, I will put it on in my comments, this is what I put in bold. Upward. So right away, that's a point deducted. So out of 4 in sentence construction and grammar mechanics, you might score 3 points because I take out a point for that. So if you want to avoid those things, if you want to maintain a perfect 4 in every category of my grading, then pay attention to content. If you give me 2 pages, that's content. If you give me 3 pages, that's content. You'll have 4 points. You're starting off with 4. But if you give me a page and a half, that is not content. So you'll lose 2 points. If you give me a page and a half, right away you'll get 2 out of 4 because it did not meet the required maximum pages. You can write 2 pages or you can write 3. So you have a cover page, which is not a page. Cover page, don't number it. So you're beginning from page 1, you type the number page 1 and number page 2. If you have 3 pages, cover page, page 1, 2, and 3, and then your bibliography, which is not a page either. So you have cover page, 3 pages or 2 pages. If you have 2 pages, this is your bibliography. Right? If you have 3 pages, you have 5 fingers. Right? If you have 4 pages, 2 pages, you have 4 fingers. Is that clear? So take your time. Take your time. If you have not started it yet, you have 4 more days. You could write a page a day from tonight. From tonight, you can begin to write page 1. Friday night, page 2. Saturday night, page 3. Sunday, I am sending this work to Dr. Vincent. The 17th is what day? The 17th is Monday. So you have tonight, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You can finish this paper over the weekend if you're writing 2 pages. Or even if you're writing all the pages, you could spend tonight into Saturday and complete this paper. Look at it again Sunday, revise it, and turn it in anytime on Monday. So this is the instructions to everyone. So pay attention to the instruction. We studied all these things. What sparked your interest? Write about it. And this is the grading, my grading scheme. Content. I'm looking at your content.
Okay, so my topic is under ancient Greece, and I'm
Yeah,
doing
but what about ancient Greece you want to write about, Miss Hamilton? What about ancient Greece? You
The-
can't just write about Greece. You have to write about an aspect of ancient Greece. What about ancient Greece you want to write and why?
I wanted to write about the 12 Olympians. So is that
All
right?
right,
or do you have to pick zoo?
so once you can get information, write about that and document it. All
And
right?
that's correct because I can write about all of them in there.
The 12 Olympians, sure. We just tell me why you want to write, why you're writing about it. Right? Why? Tell me about them and why you wrote about it. That is
Okay.
what I want to see. I want to hear your voice also. All right?
Okay.
So I am taking note of the grading scheme here. Okay. So any more questions before we close off? Any more questions? And then and again, so this is what will happen. This is how your grades will be tabulated. You have your midterm, you know your midterm grade. Midterm grade plus final exam grade plus whatever you're going to get out of 15 points. Everybody won't get 15 points because a lot of people would not come into class. So some people might get 5 out of 15. Some might get all out of 50. So let's say you got 80 on the midterm. And you got another 80 on the final. That is what? 160. And you came to class, you didn't miss much classes, I give you the 15 points. That is what? 160. 160 and 15 is 175. 175, I'm going to divide that by 2. That will give you what? 2 8s are 16. And 1 is 17. Two 7s are 14. That's 87. 87, that's a B. Right? Let's say you had 80 and you come and get 90. That's what? 170. And you come and you add 15 points to that. So if you came to class all the time, that's 185. 2 9s are 18. That's 92. This is a A. This is what an A looks like. 80 plus 90. If you have a B on the midterm and you want to get an A on the final, then you have to get, if you want to get an A on the final, you have to get 90 and above to get your A. So some of you might have B's going into the final. You have B's. Some of you have C's going into the final. Some of you grade going into the final. Some of you are on an F grade going into the final. If you have an F grade and you want to get a C in the class, you have to get an A on the final. If you have a D grade and you want to get a C in the class, you have to get an A on the final. If you have a C grade and you want to get a B grade, then you have to get an A on the final. If you have a B grade and you want to get an A on the final, you have to get an A grade. Because what? In your GPA, if you want to maintain a GPA, avoid F. You want to avoid F grades, D grades, and C grades, because those things pull down grades. You might, let's say you have an A on the midterm, but you got a C on the final, then that C brings down that A to B grade. Because lower grades pulls down higher grades. So if you want to maintain scholarship, your scholarship, avoid F grades, D grades, C grades. Any question before I take you roll? So are we clear on our assignment?
Yes.
All right. So it was a pleasure. I hope you all learned something from this class. This is why I want to hear your voice. Tell me about the Olympians if you're writing on the 12 Olympians and why. I want to hear that why from you, your voice. Why? So that tells me if you tell me the why, it shows that you're learning something. If you're writing about young boys and military in Sparta, tell me about that, but tell me why you wanted, why it interested you. If you're writing about Cleopatra, tell me about Cleopatra, but what did Cleopatra interest you? You might say, well, Cleopatra was beautiful. She was strong. She was whatever you want to say about Cleopatra, tell me that and document it. So I hope that you learned from this class. I hope that you learned something, spark your interest. There's something I know each of you learned something from. Right? And sure. Go ahead. Yeah, well, that's writing. Right, you're right. Remember, writing is what? Remember, I showed you earlier, club. You can write two ways. Writing is who, what, when, where, why, and what, how. That's one way to write. Another way is this. T, E, it's the same thing. T-E-X, sorry. T-E-X-T, text. So you begin with a topic sentence. So Moses, if you're writing on Cleopatra, you begin. Cleopatra was born in ancient, wherever in this period, her parents were so. And then you begin to expand on Cleopatra. At a young age, she married to this prince, whatever you want to say. You expand it, or you can explain, and you expand, explain, right? You expand, you explain, or you can expound. Then you give me then you give examples of what Cleopatra did, and then you close it. You terminate. That means you bring it to an end. You have your conclusion. Right? So what you write here, or what you write here, using any one of these schemes, is the same thing. What you must show is documentation. You have to document your sources. Document your sources. Right? So as I said, you're writing about Cleopatra, Miss Birdsall. Cleopatra was born in 800 BC. Her father name was Didi. Her mother was Beyonce. Blah, 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 whatever you want to say. All right, you got it. Where did you get that information, Ms. Birdsall? You go here, you go to references, we go to footnotes. That's your first footnote. Wow. If you got it from ancient EU, you put the author's name, who wrote the article, and the website and the date access. All right. You're moving on again, Ms. Birdsall. Cleopatra at a young age married King Philip. Blah, blah, blah. She met She met Anthony, fell in love with Anthony, had a son for Anthony. They're typing again. All right, footnote 2, you go back again. Right, you see, and you put in the information. So you have all your footnotes, and then from your footnotes, comply the bibliography. So you head up, they say do it with bibliography, bibliography. You center it, and you don't bullet it, you type it. So it goes in alphabetical order. Ali, John. You see, it's last name, first name in the bibliography, period. The life he wrote, as I say, times of, I'm just making up something, Cleopatra. You put a period. Where did you get it from? www.ancient.eu. And you put the date access. 5th, 15th, 2020. So your next citation. Remember, if you write more and more things came down here, right? What you do in the first citation, you do this. This is what you do. You indent the term. Sorry. This is what you will indent the second. So let me get it right. You'll indent the second line, right? And you go back here and you single space this, because this is double space. Because the rule is single spacing entries. So it has to be single space. And then between the next entry, it's double space. You're double spacing. Single space in 1, double space between 1 and 2. And it in double spacing. That's the rule. So I will stop here. I want to thank you all, especially those who made every effort to be in class. It was a pleasure teaching you all. I do hope that I imparted something to you all. When you'll be getting a survey to do about the class, fill it out and submit it back to the authorities. Right? So that's, you'll get something, not from me, you'll get it from, you'll see it in your email, look out for it, and you will talk about the class. So what say what, be honest about it, and that's about it. So I'm looking forward. Huh? You're welcome. This is my task. I want to make sure that things are clear with each of you all, that it is clear, that you know what you're about to do. So when I read your 2 to 3 pages, what you wrote and why you wrote about it.
I just have one quick
So
question.
just take your time. When you want to avoid spelling errors, all right? Edit your paper. You want to avoid these things. So let me get the roll, and you all will have an early dinner today, and you're free from Dr. Vincent's class. No more coming to class from today. And you'll be, if you're not doing summer school, you'll be home for a long summer where you can get a job where some jobs are now, McDonald's have raised their wages if you want to work for the summer. If you want to work, you'll be some places paying $15 an hour. So it's up to you what you want to do. Hopefully, I might see some of you all when school reopens. Please don't fail this class to repeat it again, to pay more money. Maintain your scholarship so that you can remain in school.